The ship's power is flowing. The defenses are rebuffing the hordes, and the engines remain silent. Repairs by Stephen Meehan. Jarvis closed his eyes and thumped the wall of his useless ship. With a grunt, he marched into the laboratory and leaned against the doorframe, studying the plasma cannon's exposed innards. He folded his arms across his chest and cleared his throat.
Cecile, how's your work progressing?
A curse echoed off the walls, and as silence rushed to fill the space, Cecile's head crested the workbench.
You weren't supposed to bother me for a couple of days while I performed my diagnostics.
That's why you got 5.
Has it been that long?
Jarvis nodded as he retrieved an implement from the bench.
Based on where you are, I'll assume you're poking at my engine.
Cecile snatched the tool from Jarvis, returning to the opening.
I'm following your standing orders to get this bucket off the ground.
He reached down and pulled her clear of the hatch. Jarvis's thumb pointed at the workbench as he leaned toward her.
While that's an important goal, your top priority was repairing and replicating that cannon.
With a shrug, Cecile waved her tool at the weapon scattered over her table.
5 days?
You're in your element. I'm not surprised you lost track of time.
He stepped to the workbench, tapping the device.
Now tell me why you've abandoned the cannon.
I haven't deserted it.
Cecile swiped her eyes as her shoulders sagged. She hopped onto a stool and pulled an implement from her belt. She stuck the tip into the chamber and adjusted the wires there.
Whenever I wear out a mystery, I need to sink my teeth into something new.
Jarvis plucked the tool from her and patted the chassis.
Have you repaired the overload?
Not yet.
We've successfully used the other experimental weapon in 3 raids.
Cecile reclaimed the device and tapped it against the hollowed-out cannon.
There's a difference between theoretical and operational, and given your proximity to the thing, I thought you'd appreciate that distinction.
Jarvis wrung his hands.
When will we receive more cannons?
I'm not sure. While I've isolated the cause of their self-detonation, I haven't corrected it. But if you're eager to tempt suicide, I'll produce flawed weapons for you.
Jarvis's palm slammed against his forehead while gritting his teeth.
If you've identified it, why isn't it fixed?
Whoever designed the original was careless.
Why's that?
Jarvis asked, sitting down at the workbench.
The folks back home are pretty smart.
Cecile shook her head and dove into the open access panel.
Even the smartest people make mistakes, especially with a prototype.
Jarvis sauntered to the hatch and placed his palms on either side.
What's wrong with the cannon?
The genius who designed it wired the power source into the focusing diode incorrectly.
Jarvis slammed the bulkhead while pointing at the collection of parts.
There's nothing wrong with that wiring.
Cecile muttered a curse while her hands flew across the engines.
You're not an engineer.
I've given you a pass with your attitude.
Jarvis thumped his fists against the smooth metal.
But you're rapidly about to jump over that line.
Cecile pushed herself clear of the hatch and dropped in front of it. With a forced smile, she rubbed her face.
I'm sorry, Jarvis. I'm just wound a little tight right now.
Apology accepted.
Jarvis rested a hand on her shoulder.
Fix the weapon.
I'll get it done.
Good.
Jarvis said, pointing at the engine.
Have you made progress in repairing my ship?
That's a matter of opinion.
Cecile pulled a handkerchief from a back pocket and wiped her brow, while she withdrew a tablet from inside the hatch and offered it to Jarvis.
It's a mixed bag.
Jarvis grabbed the pad and groaned.
What's wrong?
She looked at her hands and shook her head.
We have to start with the pleasant piece first.
Cecile, you're being flippant.
With a sigh, Cecile tapped the device, then the wall before she smiled.
The order matters. There's nothing wrong with the machinery.
Jarvis tapped the pad against his leg.
That's a plus.
Frankly, we don't have to reproduce anything.
Cecile pulled herself off the floor and seized the tablet. She flicked through the files, selecting a document. She handed it back to Jarvis and claimed a stool.
We have ample power, but something is stopping it from reaching the engine. I've checked the system twice. It still makes no sense.
That's not possible.
He gestured at the active monitors.
Power's getting there.
With a nod, Cecile grabbed a nearby radio and slapped it into Jarvis's hand.
This device's battery is nothing compared to the ship's reactor, which works. Right now, it's capable of running everything here, including the crucial defensive batteries. The cabling is key to diagnosing the problem.
The conduits crippled the engine?
They're damaged.
Can't you replace them?
I did, but the fresh ones have worked no better.
Cecile pointed at the opening as her smile faded.
Once I got the originals under a scope, I discovered they were undamaged.
Then what's wrong?
With a shrug, Cecile closed her eyes.
If I knew, you'd have your answer.
With a deep breath, Jarvis dropped into the chair.
If we don't fix this, we're not leaving this planet.
At the moment, keeping the reactor running is consuming my attention.
She laid her hand on the weapon as her grin widened.
However, I'll be able to jury-rig a couple more of these. They won't be as sleek, but they should be nearly as effective.
We'll need more than a few to keep ourselves alive.
I'm hoping that'll be a moot point.
Cecile shrugged, offering a tight smile as she tapped the hatch with her toes.
But the weapons should help keep us alive while I keep searching.
Hopefully you're correct.
Jarvis crossed the room and pointed a finger at the engineer.
Produce as many cannons as possible before you figure out what's causing the power drain.
It's not...
Cecile rubbed her forehead and closed her eyes.
I'll take care of it, sir.
With that, our story concludes. I hope you've enjoyed today's reprieve from your daily grind. If you like the vibe, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Because every bit helps get this channel spread to those who require a momentary chance to unwind. I'll see you for the next tale, my friends. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. But why not keep the rhythm going? Pick one of the videos on screen and settle in for another moment of escape. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and tap the bell to get notified when new tales drop.